So this is Toolbox Talk number 1, and it's the pre-job safety considerations. So the reason we're going to go through this is to remind and revise you or teach you on all of the sort of processes that you should be going through before you start a job, so that when you're doing the job, you're doing it in the safest way possible. So the first thing starts really with basically a visual inspection of the area that you're going to work in. Okay, so you need to make sure that the area is clear from any obstructions. You need to be looking at your tools, making sure all your tools are appropriate for the job that you're going to be doing and are fit for purpose. So no cracks, no sharp edges, etc., where you're going to be putting your hands, things like that. Next thing you want to be looking at is your documentation. So you need to read the RAMs. Okay, so again, you might have done the job 1,000 times before, but there might be certain parts of that RAMs that are significantly different to what you've done before, particularly if you're working with a different contractor or main contractor. So you need to read through those RAMs, make sure you're happy with them. In addition to that, you need to read the cost assessment, because different items that we use a lot of various substances on site, and they all have their own safety considerations. So something that might look identical to a substance you were using maybe the day before might have very different safety issues surrounding it. And in addition to that, the safety data sheets that come with those. So that's the thing that the manufacturer produces with all of that, which supplement the cost assessment. They need to be read as well and understood. You need to look at the materials that you're going to be using as well. So making sure all the materials and all the substances are appropriate for what you're going to be doing that day, and that you have enough for the job that you're supposed to be doing. Okay. Suitable location. So again, you need to be looking at the area around you, and is there anything that's going to cause a hazard or a risk to what way you work. So are there other trades in the area, are there people or other items at height that could fall or could cause you injury? Are there any slip or trip hazards, be it cables running across your area, tools left lying around, bits of wood, other bits of material that if you weren't paying attention you could quite easily slip and trip over. Is there any electric around the area? Making sure that it's not higher than 110 volts, but again, transformers, are there any bare cables, are there any things that you need to be aware of, are there any electricians working in the area? Okay, then you need to look at the area and how you can keep that area as sterile as possible. So where would you place barriers, where would you place signage, how would you cordon the area off, and how would you warn people that they're not to come into your area when you're working? Okay. Next thing you want to look at is the task itself. Are you trained for that task? Have you done it before? Do you know what you're doing? If you're not, then you need to tell someone. Again, permits. Do any permits exist where you have to work? So in some cases, main contractors will insist that we use a hot works permit if we're using welders for lino, etc. So you need to make sure, if that is the case, or any other permits for that matter, that they are signed up and they are valid for the area you're working in, and also for the time duration for that day. If it's hot works, you also need to make sure that once you turn that item off, is there a soak period? So some people will insist that someone stays in the area for an hour, some people will insist that someone stays in the area for 2 hours, to make sure that any residual heat from those items don't cause a fire hazard. So that's things you got to look at as well. Are you wearing the correct PPE or the correct RPE for the job? Alright, so again, on the RAMs, the front section, the front page will tell you all of the PPE that you're expected to wear on that site, and it'll be specific to the site, and it'll also be specific to the task and the substances that you are using. So it'll tell you what to use there, and also anything to do with cost items, it will tell you on that same section of the RAMs, and it will also tell you again in the cost assessment. Accidents, near misses, unsafe behaviour, they all need to be reported, because if we don't know about them, they'll keep happening, and sometimes someone will get hurt seriously. So it's about reporting them, letting us know what the issues are, and then we can investigate them, and then after the investigation we can look at it and we can say, well, we're going to put whatever measure in place to reduce or eliminate that risk that's caused the hazard. Any ill health, so again, if you're suffering from any back pains, back injury, you need to let us know about that so that we can minimise the hazard and the risk to you. And also anything that might involve monitoring. So for example, hand-arm vibration. So again, if you look on the RAMs, section 2, you will see where all the tools are listed, and if any have hand-arm vibration issues around surrounding them, then that will tell you. If If it does, then you need to complement your work with a hand-arm vibration form, which will be available from your line manager or your supervisor, and that needs to come back every week so that we can monitor how much you're using that tool and making sure you don't exceed it. Housekeeping, so then again on the RAMs it will state that you should be carrying out housekeeping at least once every hour. It only takes about 5 minutes out of every hour. Have a walk around, tidy up your area, make sure there's no hazards, and then carry on with your work. So if you can work clean and tidily, then you're going to reduce the chances of any slips, trips or falls. Okay. Once you've finished your work, then you need to store all your items away, neat and tidy, out of the way. Unplug all your electrical items, again put them away, and as I said before, if anything else produces heat, then you need to make sure that that heat is fully sort of gone away so that you're not causing any potential hazards. In addition to that then, a final look over your site, over your area, to make sure that there's no hazards, and then you can leave the site. If you have any questions, fire them back to your line manager or to me. That's the end of the toolbox talk. Just make sure now that you've signed off any relevant documentation and you've forwarded on to your supervisor or line manager.